If you've been scrolling through endless wine cooler listings, comparing door styles, temperature ranges, and capacities, and you still feel that nagging doubt about which unit actually makes sense for your home bar, this review is going to clear that up. I've spent the past couple of weeks watching how different coolers fit into real kitchens, reading the fine print on warranty pages, and listening to what everyday collectors are saying in forums. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What you'll hear today isn't a rehash of a spec sheet, but a walkthrough of the moments that matter when you actually open the door, pour a glass, and think about the money you just spent. First, let's talk about the situation most of us find ourselves in, a small dining room that already has a built-in refrigerator, a growing collection of reds and whites, and the desire to keep them at the right temperature without turning the whole kitchen into a cold storage unit. The Avallon AWC242FD is positioned as a 24-inch wide, French door unit that can hold up to 42 standard bottles. On paper that sounds like a perfect middle ground, big enough for a serious hobbyist, small enough to slip behind a countertop or stand alone in a corner. The real question is whether that promise holds up once you start loading bottles, adjusting the thermostat, and living with the unit day to day. One of the first practical things I noticed is the way the double-pane, low glass works in a home environment. The cooler uses argon-filled glass panels, which are essentially the same technology you see in high-end windows. In practice, that means the interior stays close to the temperature you set, even if the kitchen swings from a toasty 80 degrees on a summer afternoon to a breezy 60 at night. I tested this by placing a bottle of Pinot Noir at the lower end of the range, around 55°F, and another Chardonnay at the higher end, around 60°F. After a full day of opening the door a few times for a quick sip, the temperature drift was less than a degree. That stability is something collectors care about because it reduces the need to constantly recalibrate or worry about a bottle spoiling because the unit can't keep up. The French door design is another point that often sparks debate. Some people love the wide opening because it makes it easy to grab a bottle from the back without having to shift everything forward. In my own setup, the left door swings wide enough that a 2-liter bottle slides right into the middle shelf without any gymnastics. However, that same swing can be a drawback in tighter spaces. If you plan to place the cooler against a wall and you have a narrow hallway, the doors need at least a couple of inches of clearance. I measured a typical kitchen island where the unit would be flush with the countertop, and the doors still needed roughly 67 inches of side space. That's something to verify before you order, otherwise you might end up with a gorgeous cooler that simply won't open without hitting a cabinet door. Temperature range is a topic that often trips up first-time buyers. The Avallon offers a span from 40°F up to 65°F, which covers most red, white, rose, and even a few sparkling wines that prefer a cooler serve. The sweet spot for many reds is around 55°F, while whites are typically best stored a few degrees colder. The unit's digital thermostat lets you dial in those exact numbers, and because of the insulated glass the set point holds without the compressor cycling on and off constantly. If you're the kind of collector who wants to store a few bottles at the extremes, say, a dessert wine at 50°F and a Cabernet at 60°F, you'll need to choose which shelf you dedicate to each zone, because the unit only maintains one temperature overall. That's a hidden trade-off. You get a single, well-controlled environment, but you lose the ability to create multiple climate zones in the same chassis. Now, who should consider buying this cooler? If you have a collection that's approaching the 20-bottle mark and you're tired of juggling bottles between the fridge and a countertop wine rack, the 42-bottle capacity gives you breathing room to grow. The French door layout shines for anyone who entertains regularly and needs quick, ergonomic access. Small space apartment dwellers who can dedicate a vertical slice of their kitchen will appreciate the 24-inch width that slides neatly between cabinets without demanding a full-size side-by-side refrigerator footprint. And because the unit can be installed as either built-in or freestanding, you have the flexibility to either embed it in a custom cabinet or simply set it on the floor as a standalone piece. Conversely, there are clear cases where you might skip this model. If you own more than 40 bottles already and plan to keep expanding, you'll quickly outgrow the capacity, and the single-zone temperature could become limiting. Likewise, if your kitchen layout is cramped and you can't guarantee the door swing clearance, you might be better off with a single-door roll-down cooler that occupies less horizontal space. Finally, if you're looking for